Alrighty guys, 18 holes coming at you live from the beautiful Wailea Gold Course in, well, Wailea, Maui. This is my first time in Maui, Hawaii in general, and it was so much fun. Wailea was honestly probably my favorite city to be in. It wasn't as touristy as all the other places I found, like, you know, Kihei was nice, Kaanapali was beautiful, but Kaanapali was like super touristy. Wailea had a great mix of kind of all the, you know, the Hawaii vibes, but not crazy touristy. The beaches were awesome, the food was delicious, and there was a lot of options here, a lot of resorts here. So honestly, like if you're not even golfing, I would absolutely recommend coming to Wailea just to eat. The food here was delicious. If you come between happy hour, which I think is 2 to 5, the food prices drop significantly, and it is a great place just to have lunch or an early dinner with your family without kind of spending too much money. Honestly, recommend the poke bowl. It was probably the most delicious poke bowl I've ever had in my life. And we managed to bogey, unfortunately, the first hole there with a crispy little 3-putt. And we're gonna hit a couple putts short during the course of the round. Something I really didn't even take into account was the grain. I did not even look at it. But essentially what the grain is when the grass is growing either into you or against you or cross. When the grass is growing into you, the putts are gonna go a lot slower. When the grain is going down grain, it's gonna be a lot quicker. And you'll be able to see it because when it's into the grain, it's gonna be darker shade of green, and when it's down grain, it's gonna be a lighter shade of green. So if you're ever playing a golf course with grain, keep that in mind because it absolutely affects how the putt is gonna come off. And luckily, we managed to play the second hole, the par 5 there in almost 3 shots. We left that shot just a little bit to the right, but we're gonna get it back to even here. And like I said, I'm gonna shoot actually pretty decent today for never seeing a golf course before, never even being in Hawaii. I wasn't really sure how far the ball was even gonna go in Hawaii because obviously the climate is warmer, but we're at sea level, so the ball is not gonna necessarily fly. And honestly, I found the numbers went quite similar to how I hit it in Vancouver at home. I think the sea level was the biggest thing. It wasn't crazy. It was decently hot out, but like the air, because it's right at the ocean, it's a little bit heavier compared to like, you know, an air in like Arizona or an air in Palm Springs. So if you're gonna play, I would play your numbers kind of, unless it's super hot and dry, play it pretty close to sea level, I'd say. And also here, in terms of the actual video itself, I'm trying out a new tracer. This one's kind of an automatic tracer. I think it looks better, but it's automatic, and unfortunately with automatic doesn't always give the best results. And that shot there, like when I was editing this video, the tracer brought me like 100 yards left. And the thing with this one is you can't change it, which is very annoying. So I'm kind of like going back and forth between, you know, the old tracer and this tracer. This one you actually have to pay for. It's quicker, it's very easy, but it's not always as accurate. So I think there's a couple holes where you're not gonna see a tracer just because how it doesn't fly as properly. So if you are watching this right now, let me know in the comments below which tracer you actually like. Like for me, I really prefer this one. I like the skinnier line. It's just not being able to manually move it kind of stinks. But like I said, just let me know. That's another thing about this golf course. It is quite flat. On some of the holes though, like this, if you're a little bit offline, you're gonna have a bit of undulation, whether it's on the greens, short of the green, or even like on side hill lies like this. So this golf course, generally flat, the greens are quite large. So you're gonna hit a lot of greens, but if you're in the wrong spots, just kind of like we were on a couple of holes there, it's a very tricky 2-putt. So just make sure you're on the right side of the green. But yeah, this golf course, so much fun. We made, I don't know why I keep saying we, but I made a good amount of birdies, a good amount of pars. You know, I think I had a couple 3-putts and a couple like, you know, like a bogey here, unfortunately, but this was a tricky hole in general. But you know what? And then this hole here, 287 yards. This is probably the best 3-wood I've hit in years. Ended up absolutely smoking. It was funny, the group behind us, it was a jam-packed day. And when I'm filming, like I mentioned before, I'm always very aware of like other people when I'm filming, and like it was a super busy day. We waited for the group in front of us on every single hole, every single shot. But the same thing happened with the group behind us. So when they saw me waiting for the green, you could tell they didn't say anything, but they were, you know, they had their hands on their hips. They were a little bit annoyed, and especially seeing as when I hit 3-wood, they were like, what is this guy doing? I could hear them chatter. I couldn't exactly hear what they were saying, but I could definitely hear some little snickering come from there. So they were also quite old, so they probably did not see me pipe this 3-wood to like 20 feet. But back to even par now, and the par 5s here, they are quite long on the card, but if you do cut the corners, you will be able to take a lot of the distance off. So just make sure you're playing aggressive, but play your ball flight. If you're too aggressive here and you know overcut it, it's going to be impossible. There's not too many places to actually lose a golf ball on this course, but if you see there on the left, you know, if you take it too much on, you know, you're going to lose it. So just beware. Speaking of beware, my goodness, on one of the par 3s here, I think the next one actually, when you're driving by the green, and I've never seen this before, there's a couple signs that say beware of mongoose. Mongoose? I don't know how to pronounce it, but essentially they will hide in the bushes and they will come from the bush into your golf cart and squeak away all your food. I heard it hit the flag. My mom, no offense, love her to death, but she was like, oh look, it says mongoose there, be careful of your food. And then she just left, walked away from the cart, and then sure enough, I see her as I'm, you know, hitting my putt here, I sure enough see her running back to the cart because the mongoose has her 2 bags of chips she just spent some money on. So that was kind of funny. I was giving her a little bit of shit because, you know, she literally just said, and then sure enough, they were stealing her chips. That was funny. So just make sure if you're parked near the bushes, just, you know, have your stuff in your bag or like, you know, in a secure place because they have no shame. They will come and they will steal your stuff. They're quite smart. So yeah, and like speaking of the food, I was really surprised, especially with how much the green fee is. I thought the food was gonna be, it's gonna be a typical like resort place. Like it's gonna charge you, it's gonna gouge you. And I was super surprised to see how affordable the stuff at the cart was. And I think I got like a Sprite it was like $3. I don't drink alcohol, so I don't even know if it's a good deal, but my mom was saying it was a good deal. But essentially they had, you know, beer for $6, which I've seen at other golf courses. It's almost like, you know, sometimes $10 for beer. So that was pretty good. The chips were pretty affordable. The snacks were really affordable. It was just all over like a very good experience. For me, I typically will never buy stuff from the cart girl because, you know, I'm not gonna spend, you know, $8 on a bag of chips that's half full. But the nice thing with this place is everything was affordable. You know what, this whole experience was honestly so much fun. I really liked everything. That being said, if you are gonna come to Wailea, like I think Hawaii in general, everything in Hawaii is gonna be more expensive just because in terms of food, they have to import essentially everything, maybe except pineapples, and the pineapples were actually delicious. But everything is gonna be more expensive, including the golf, because they know if people are coming to Maui, Hawaii, whatever it may be, you essentially have money and they are just gonna gouge you in any way, shape, or form. And you know what? This is actually low season in terms of Hawaii, so the green fees can actually get a little bit more expensive. And the green fees here were, I think the max rate is, I saw it go up to like $300 on like a Saturday, like 8 a.m. So, but you can play Twilight for a little bit cheaper. I think it's like maybe like 160 or something like that. So you can rip a bunch of holes. The thing is the sun does set, because we're close to the equator, the sun does set quite a bit earlier compared to Vancouver. I found like the sun was setting, it seemed like 7 o'clock in Vancouver at the time. It was setting at almost 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Just keep that in mind. This golf course is not particularly cheap, but honestly, no golf course in Maui, Hawaii in general, is going to be cheap. And if you do find one, and it's a good one, it's a hidden gem, let me know in the comments if you do know any cheap golf courses. But I really liked it. I think if you're going to Hawaii, you're prepared to spend some money, and I think, like, you know what, you're never really going to go to Hawaii that often. If you do, you're very lucky. But you know what, it's not too bad of a thing to splurge. And I think if you are going to do it, I think this golf course, either this or the Emerald. I didn't get a chance to play the Emerald, but they just, with all the ocean views, how like peaceful it was, the golf course was fun. I think this is a very good place to play. And speaking of going back to earlier there, like this putt here, that's an example of the grain. See how different those two shades of green? We got where my sister's standing, you got the light shade, and where the putt was is the dark shade. So essentially that grain is coming into me, and you know what? If there was no grain, I probably would have made that putt. So that's just one thing, another example of like, anytime you're golfing, anytime you're playing, you need to take in every single factor when it comes to hitting the golf shot, whether it's the wind, the lie, your stance, you know, is the ball clean? There's so many different things that can affect your golf shot. So doing that for 18 holes for every single shot is very, very difficult. And that's why like people on tour are as good as they are, because not only can they hit very, very good golf shots, but they're very, very good at adapting and kind of like going through their process to make sure they're doing that mental checklist of knocking every single factor variable off so they can see and feel how this golf ball is going to come out. For there, if I would have like, you know, spent an extra 1 second to notice that that grain was into, I'd been like, okay, let's hit it a little bit further. And then, you know what, I may have made that putt. That was probably one of the harder holes on the golf course, and I could have had a good chance at birdie in instead. I did all the hard stuff, and unfortunately, I failed to do the easy stuff. So that's when it comes to golf. You want to play good golf, and that's the thing. Anybody at any skill level can do that. You don't have to be really, really good at golf to, you know, control all the things you are in your control, essentially. Control the controllables. If you can do that, you're going to play some really good golf, even though you don't necessarily have the physical ability to do so. But I'm 2 under right now through 13 holes, and we blasted this one on the other hole here. Again, there's a couple times here, and you can see my frustration. I thought the lie was going to move that ball way to the right. The golf ball was way below my feet, and I had that, I think, on like maybe the 4th or 5th hole there, and it just didn't. So that was my fault. I was taking into account the lie, but I just didn't hit it. It just didn't move, and sometimes that happens. Here too, like I got a little bit too aggressive, and you're going to see how much this golf ball is going to move left to right. Like I missed in such a bad spot, and unfortunately, never playing this golf course before, it would have been much easier, much better to miss it short right as opposed to long left, because long left was essentially impossible to this pin. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to make like a 6-footer for bogey, and yeah, it's tough. This golf course is, it can bite you a little bit if you're a little bit off, but I think in general, it's really scoreable. There's a lot of par 5s here, and this one in general, 550. I'm absolutely gonna smoke this one. And before you say anything, that guy in the cart there, not even in play. I wasn't really paying attention. I honestly did not even see him in my blinders. It was kind of tunnel vision just to where I wanted to be. It's kind of annoyed making bogey on the last hole. And I got 227 into the wind uphill, and I'm gonna chip a 2-iron there, and it hit probably one of the best 2-irons of the day. It just went a little bit long, and I'm gonna have like maybe a 15, 18-footer down the hill for eagle. I had actually a lot of eagle putts during the course of this round. Unfortunately, I am gonna make none of them. Just a lot of weak putts. Should take a little bit more time to read them, but I found the greens here were a little bit tricky to read with the grain. Just, you know what, it was just not my day on the greens. I think, again, anytime I'm filming, I'm not spending the appropriate amount of time reading the putts. But it's okay. It's a nice, easy 2-putt here for birdie. And we got 3 holes left, par 3 here. I found a lot of the par 3s were similar numbers. Like, I think 3 of them were about 200 yards-ish. So, would have been nice to have a little bit of variety there. I love having some short ones. I love some long ones. But I think some really, really short ones that kind of have a lot of character are probably my favorite types of par 3s. So it's kind of, I'm not, again, just nitpicking here. I would have liked a little bit more variety in the yardages for the par 3s, but it's fine. So 2 more holes left here. This one, again, the people were just on our asses the entire round. And again, we were on the people's in front of us asses the entire round too. And I was like, I'm gonna show them here. I'm gonna blast one and hit it like a billion yards right to absolute jail. But I actually hit such a good shot. I was actually trying to hit a shot that kind of landed on the strip between the 2 bunkers there. Call it a little taint there in between the balls and the asshole there. But I went a little bit long, and I kind of landed it on the green over the left bunker there. And actually, because it was a back pin, it ended up being pretty decent. I would take this all day, every day from there. And yeah, I unfortunately did not hit the best chip. I found the greens here were rolling they were rolling decent. Out of the rough, it was kind of hard. There was a different type of grass I found, so it was a little bit tricky to judge. And you know what? I just didn't hit many good shots, to be honest, around, especially in the rough. Fairway was fine, but we're on the 18th hole here, and such a cool hole. You'll see the approach shot. You got the water kind of looking back at you, and yeah, this is actually a really good round, to be honest. We're gonna shoot in the 60s here, not to spoil anything, but we are gonna make the birdie putt here. Got a 155, gonna hit a nice, comfortable 9-iron here. Really good shot here. This is probably one of the better shots, flighting it into that wind. And yeah, if you're still watching this, I really appreciate you guys. You know, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of this golf course. And yeah, I really appreciate you guys. The support is always awesome. I'm trying to get the YouTube going. So yeah, nice little birdie there. So I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.